I'd like to welcome everybody to our webinar this evening on building community in an online course brought to you by Academic Partnerships. This is part of our Tech Du Jour series. And so during this webinar, we're going to present a brief presentation, and everybody is currently in listen-only mode now. So you do have the option to type in the chat box if you are on a computer at the moment. And at the end of the presentation, we're going to open it up to discussion where people can speak their questions or share their stories. So we're going to go ahead and get started. I'd like to introduce this. So with the Building Community in an Online Course, we decided to discuss a course introduction video. If you'd also like to participate in a tweet chat, we have the hashtag #EdTechDuJour, so feel free to join in on the tweet chat. Tonight, we have Dr. Melissa Kaulbach and myself, Dr. Heather Farmakis. We are both directors of academic services with Academic Partnerships. And we have lots of higher education experience, preferably online experience with teaching courses. And tonight we're going to be talking about how we have built community in our online courses through the introduction of a course video.
Thank you so much for joining us tonight. This is Melissa Kaulbach, and we're going to talk about effective ways to build community in the online space. And as we move from the four walls of a classroom to online, we build relationships and connect with our students in different ways. And sometimes I find that we have to work harder to do so in the online space. So building rapport and connecting with online students, we know that it enhances the learning environment and helps students feel like they belong to the group. Building an online community is important because it adds to the human element of the online learning space. Communities also allow students to feel connected. And all of this fosters a learning environment that improves student retention and persistence rates. And sometimes, like I said, we have to work harder to make those connections in the online courses. And Dr. Farmakis, can you share some examples of how you build community in your online courses?
Sure. This is one of my favorite activities because it sets the stage for the rest of your class. So during the first week, I usually post an assignment in the discussion board where everybody has to introduce themselves. And they can do this in any format that they choose. Some people are very comfortable in front of a camera and they can do a quick video. Other people like to do presentations. They've used Prezi, PowerPoints, slide sharers, or what have you. And some people just do picture collages, and some are very blessed with their writing skills, and they're able to portray their personality and give a little bit of a history of themselves. So I find when I do this type of activity in the beginning of the course, it really promotes a positive learning environment, and people get to know each other relatively quickly, because usually I'm teaching an online accelerated course, and they're not a traditional 16-week course. So getting to know each other in the beginning is crucial, and it humanizes the course.
Those are great suggestions, and I enjoy scrapbooking myself, so I oftentimes will post a collage with pictures. And again, like you said, it really helps those students feel like they get to know you. So now as we talk about creating a course introduction video, we know this is a great and easy way to help the students feel connected to you, especially since they don't see you in a campus setting. And I know some people prefer an avatar, or they might use a talking head video, but it doesn't quite accomplish the same level of connectedness. Your video can be really simple, and everyone can do this. As you think about it, many people have an iPad, or you might have a webcam on your computer and you just hit record. So remember that the video does not need to be perfect. It can absolutely have minor noises in the background. And as we look at a sample video later from one of my courses, you'll see that it's not highly produced. And a lot of times that makes you appear real to your students, and it takes away some of the intimidation factors.
That's a great point, Dr. Kaulbach, because the students need to realize that, this is an attainable thing, and also professors need to realize it's an attainable thing to do just not an elaborate production type of video, but just with your iPad out as you're recommending and just hitting the record button.
I agree. And here's some basic recording tips. Just a few reminders. Remember to have good lighting on your face so you don't have shadows on your face. Keep your video under 3 minutes. This will really keep your students' attention and help them focus. Make sure that your settings tidy, and remember whatever's behind you would be in the video. And also remember to speak clearly and slowly. And I always encourage people, have fun and be yourself. So whatever your hobbies are, your personality, really let it shine through, and that way it's another way for students to feel like they know you. As you let your personality shine, feel free to share your career experiences, your hobbies, and other interesting information that makes you unique. I love it when I was in an online course, I had a professor who would always play at the beginning of his video like the opening to a rock concert and everyone's screaming. And he would add, this is how you're going to feel after you take this course, because you're going to learn so much and be very excited. And then also I know professors, like they might share that they play a musical instrument. And it's just a way for you to really know more about the professor. And again, it builds that community, and that's what we're looking for. I also encourage people, don't sit behind a desk and have a really formal, don't feel like you have to have a suit on and make this really professional video. If you're out doing one of your favorite hobbies, or you're just sitting by the pool or wherever you like to relax, your favorite vacation spot, I always find videos that are filmed in places like that really engaging as well.
I think you bring up an important point about letting your personality reflect through, your video. So any kind of scenery or background, I think, is an important piece for that setting.
Absolutely. And now as we look at course expectations, the main reason for doing this is to help ease the anxiety for the students. Remember that a lot of people returning to school online, it might be an older adult, it might be someone who hasn't been in college for years. So the goal of the video is to connect with your students, to build community, to set expectations, but to also lower those anxieties and fears that students might have. You might consider providing examples of exemplary, mediocre, and poorly written discussion board posts to help make your expectations clear. Because I know for a lot of students, when you just read all of that text and you're trying to figure out, well, what did the professor mean, and you can't hear the tone, when you have samples and you have little video clips, students really can get a deeper appreciation for what your expectations are.
That also cuts down on a lot of the questions you might get, Dr. Kaulbach. So when you set your course expectations up, you're laying it all out on the line. So instead of having to have your students read between the lines of the text, you're actually just going to say it and elaborate on it. So sometimes just saying it in a few words and your personality is showing through, I think they get a better understanding of what you're really looking for. So that's down.
That is so true. Mm-hmm. And just minimizing their concerns and questions and addressing that, that's part of how telling the students how to succeed in your course. You can even include your pet peeves. In my intro video, I tell them, my goal is for you to be successful in this course. And here are some tips. And I might reference a document that will be in the student orientation and other things that will help set them up for success. So again, removing some of those fears and barriers that students might worry about. I love to remind students that I am not the tech support help desk. I do tell the students where they can find resources and reference information, and it's usually found in the student orientation. And I always warn people, you know, when the first time I taught online, I thought, oh, I'll just do it for this one student. But believe me, it opens Pandora's box. So even though you might have a weak moment and feel like being really nice, you just want to set the students up to be self-directed learners and just remind them where they can find that important information.
I heard something in a recent workshop, Dr. Kaulbach, where the professor said they have the 3 before me rule for the tech support. So the 3 points of contact, or the 3 things or steps that the student is supposed to take before they contact you as the professor to escalate the issue with the technical support. So I really like that. Like, 1, check your browser, make sure your computer is up to date, or check with, you know, did you put in a call to the help desk? And some professors even require a help desk ticket number or something like that. So I think that the 3 before me rule is really effective.
Those are really solid pieces of advice. I also let students know when my virtual office hours will be. For my online courses, I offer synchronous Skype office hours. Mine are typically every Thursday evening from, say, 7 to 8:30, but it is an optional time, and it's a way for students to get to know their classmates, to ask questions if they choose, and I remind the students in the beginning, I know that life happens. I know you might have Aunt Susie's wedding during week 6 of this course, so during those virtual office hours, that might be a time for students to look ahead or plan ahead or clarify any questions they have. And again, you can set your office hours up to be anything that works for your schedule. And we know that we can't meet everyone's schedule, but just knowing how to contact a professor is very important. Which leads to the next piece, communication preferences. It's so important to let the students know the best way to communicate with you, when they can reach you, and if you prefer phone calls, let them know when the best time to call you. I also set expectations for a response. My students know that I will always respond to them within 24 hours, and I think it's comforting, again, just knowing what they can expect.
Yeah, and that brings up something else as well. You know, we're in an age or a society where everything is instant. We have Twitter, and everybody's used to an immediate response, and blogs where people can comment whatever. And I think it's important to note what your response time will be, because, you know, as a student in an online course, you turn something in or you ask a question, you want that immediate feedback like you'd have in your traditional type of a course. So I think setting that expectation of, okay, I will respond within 24 hours, it lets them know that, yes, you did get their information or their query, but you will be getting back to them soon.
Very good point. Thank you. Also, when you record your intro video, I'm a big believer of working smarter and not harder. So you might be teaching multiple courses. You might teach for more than one university. Make your introduction video about you and about as generic as it can be. Because if you start mentioning dates, or next Tuesday when we talk about XYZ, I'll go more in depth with this. If you can avoid doing that, then you're working smarter and not harder, because you can create your intro video and use it multiple times. And then, as we'll talk about later, you might want to do other helpful videos and discuss your teaching philosophy or methodology. You might create videos to describe your assignments or a culminating project, and also letting students know how they're assessed. A lot of fears in courses, whether they're face-to-face or online, the students worry about assessment. And for a lot of people, depending on the type of learner they are and what their personality type is, that's a common fear. So some professors, I prefer project-based learning, and I think a lot of assignments, when they're culminating projects and they're field-based and experiential, and the students writing about the unique project they're doing, one, it addresses academic integrity. So there are multiple reasons to use it, but whatever your preference is for assessing students, make sure that you communicate that up front. And you could just do a quick video about that as well.
That's a great point. And even with the assignment videos, uh, I like that because, again, the students don't have to read between the lines. Just by hearing their professor and seeing them explain what they're looking for is really beneficial to them, I find.
I agree, and I do think the typical personality type that is drawn to learn in an accelerated online format is usually your type A kind of personality, and I can appreciate that because that's what I was attracted to, and that's very much my personality. So I tend to be an overthinker. So when I read that text and I see that black and white on the page, I read and reread and overthink. But my professors who've had a quick video that explain an assignment, it was awesome because I didn't have any potential for misunderstanding. So I'm a huge advocate of creating videos to explain assignments when possible. So you can see on the screen a sample video that's in YouTube, and you can go to the faculty eCommons under Tech Du Jour if you would like to see the entire video. I'm not sure if it will play in this platform, but I did want to point out to you, you can see I'm just sitting by my pool. I have my favorite furry friend on my lap. That's Homer, my dog. So it's casual, but yet the conversation and the content of the video is professional. But I literally just hung my iPad over the back of a bar stool on my deck and hit record. So it was really easy. You can hear birds chirping. I can see the chlorine holder in my pool. It's not a really, highly produced video, but it does the job. And it also makes me seem like a real person. So Heather, what's your experience with videos in your courses?
Well, I've had wonderful experiences with them. Anytime it just makes you look like a real person, like you're saying, Dr. Kaulbach. Because students really don't know how to take it when they're doing an online course, and they could be having different kinds of anxieties and overthinking things, as you were mentioning earlier. So I think anything that can make you seem real. Yes, you have a dog. You're sitting in front of your pool. That's obviously portraying your personality. So I think that it's perfect.
And I let students know that's where I do the majority of my reading, whether it's reading their papers or articles. So that's where I do my best thinking. So Dr. Farmakis will describe to you our social media platforms and let you know more about our faculty eCommons.
Thank you, Dr. Kaulbach. We have the facultyecommons.org, which is our social ecosystem for learning with academic services through academic partnerships. And here you can find lots of helpful information and sign up for our newsletter because we do have other webinars available to you. We have, besides the Tech Du Jour, we have Learn with Michelle, where she has webinars and also has Google Hangouts available to choose from our community professional development calendar. But if you did sign up or if you do sign up for the newsletter, you'll get notices for those upcoming events. We also have Pinterest account for Faculty eCommons, which you should definitely follow because we have a lot of really great infographics available there. We have our YouTube channel for Tech Du Jour as well as our Twitter station and of course our Facebook page for Faculty eCommons. Here is an example of our page, Faculty eCommons. So over here on the right-hand side, you'll see subscribe to newsletter. So if you go to our page, facultyecommons.com or .org, either one will work and bring you to our site. And if you go over on the bottom right-hand side, you'll see subscribe to newsletter there, and you'll get frequent updates. Not that frequent, but you will get frequent updates on when we have our upcoming events, our live events, and articles and MOOCs that we have available. So at this point, I am going to recap what we've gone over tonight. So tips for your course introduction video. Obviously, you're going to want to portray your personality. That definitely helps establish the rapport with your students and helps build community, as well as sharing your course expectations so students know what to expect throughout your course. and how they can be successful. The 3 before me rule for the tech support I think is very helpful, as well as when your virtual office hours will be, because sometimes students just need to talk things through with you. Your communication preference is also something important to include in your course introduction video, and just letting them know that you will get back to them within 24 hours and not everything is extremely immediate. And of course, avoid dating your video, and that means not including a specific date of when a project is due, so you can recycle that intro video. So at this point, I'd like to go ahead and open this webinar up for discussion. So just one moment, please. I'm going to put everybody into discussion mode.
These are muted.
So you are now unmuted. Does anybody have any questions for Dr. Kaulbach or myself? I know when you're building a course and you're thinking about what to do, it may seem a little bit overwhelming with doing the videos, but just keep in mind that just a 2 to 3 minute video, it goes by so quickly, and it really means a lot to the student. If you want to view Dr. Kaulbach's introduction video, you can go ahead and find that on the Faculty eCommons. This webinar will be in archived format available on the Faculty eCommons. So there you'll see our Prezi, which is the platform that we used for the presentation, as well as the archived version of this webinar if you're interested.
Do you have any other questions?
We also have this webinar available again in July. So if you're interested in sharing this webinar with anybody, please feel free to let them know that we do offer this webinar again. You can find that information on Faculty eCommons under Community. Okay, do we have any other questions for this evening? Okay. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for attending.
And we'll look forward to another webinar with Tech Du Jour. Thank you.
Thank you. Good night.